Ammon was a treasure, a bright creature come into our gloom. He fed our hunger, for we were starving too. He would never tell us enough about the lowlands. He'd given an answer of some kind to every question I asked, but often a joking answer, evasive or merely vague. There was probably a good deal about his past life that he didn't want us to know. And anyhow, he wasn't a keen observer and clear reporter, as Guin was when she was my eyes. She could describe exactly how the new bull calf looked, his bluish coat and knobby legs and little furry horn buds, so that I could all but see him. But if I asked Ammon to tell about the city of Derriswater, all he said was that it wasn't much of a city, and the market was dull. Yet I knew, because my mother had told me, that Derriswater had tall red houses and deep streets, that steps of slate led up from the docks and moorages where the river traffic came and went, that there was a market of birds, and a market of fish, and a market of spices and incense and honey, a market for old clothes and a market for new ones, and the great pottery fairs to which people came from all up and down the Trond River, even from the far shores of the ocean. Maybe Ammon had had bad luck with his thieving in Derriswater. Whatever the reason, he preferred to ask us the questions and sit back at ease to listen to us, to me mostly. I was always a talker, if there was anybody to listen. Guin had a long habit of silence and watchfulness, but Ammon could draw her out. I doubt he knew how lucky he'd been in finding us two, but he appreciated our making him welcome and keeping him comfortable through a bitter, rainy winter. He was sorry for us. He was bored, no doubt. He was inquisitive. "So what is it this fellow up at Garamont does that's so fearsome?" he'd ask. His tone just skeptical enough that I'd try as hard as I could to convince him of the truth of what I said. But these were matters that were not much talked about, even among people with the gift. It seemed unnatural to speak of them aloud. "The gift of that lineage is called the twisting," I said at last. "Twisting? Like a sort of dancing?" "No." The words were hard to find and hard to say. "Twisting people." "Making them turn around?" "No, their arms, legs, necks, bodies." I twisted my own body a bit with discomfort at the subject. Finally, I said, "You saw old Guin, that woodsman, up over Knob Hill? We passed him yesterday on the cart road. Guin told you who he was." "All bent over like a nutcracker." "Branta Eroy did that to him." "Doubled him up like that? What for?" "A punishment. The Branter said he came on him picking up wood in Gare Forest." After a little, Ammon said, "Rheumatism will do that to a man." "Guin was a young man then." "So you don't yourself recall it happening?" "No," I said, vexed by his airy incredulity. "But he does, and my father does. Guin told him. Guin said he wasn't in Garamont at all, but only near the borderline in our woods. Branter Eroy saw him and shouted, and Guin was scared and started to run away with a load of wood on his back. He fell. When he tried to stand, his back was bent over and hunched, the way it is now. If he tries to stand up, his wife said, he screams with the pain." "And how did the Branter do this to him?" Ammon had learned the word from us. He said he'd never heard it in the lowlands. A Branter is the master or mistress of a domain, which is to say the chief and most gifted of a lineage. My father was Branter of Caspermont. Guin's mother was Branter of the Barras of Rodmont, and her father Branter of the Rods of that domain. We too were their heirs, their nestling eaglets. I hesitated to answer Ammon's question. His tone had not been mocking, but I didn't know if I should say anything at all about the powers of the gift. Guin answered him. "He'd have looked at the man," she said in her quiet voice. In my blindness, her voice always brought to me a sense of light air moving in the leaves of a tree. "And pointed his left hand or finger at him, and maybe said his name, And then he'd have said a word or two, or more, and it was done. What kind of words? Guy was silent. Maybe she shrugged. The Gare gift's not mine, she said at last. We don't know its ways. Ways? The way a gift acts. Well, how does your gift act? What does it do, then? Emmon asked her, not teasing, alive with curiosity. It's something to do with hunting? The bearer gift is calling, Guy said. Calling? What do you call? Animals. Deer? After each question came a little silence, long enough for a nod. I imagined Guy's face, intent yet closed, as she nodded. Hares? Wild swine? Bear? Well, if you called a bear and it came to you, what would you do then? The huntsman would kill it. She paused and said, I don't call to the hunt. Her voice was not wind in leaves as she said it, but wind on stone. Our friend certainly didn't understand what she meant, but her tone may have chilled him a little. He didn't go on with her, but turned to me. And you, Oric, your gift is... The same as my father's, I said. The Caspro gift is called the Undoing, and I will not tell you anything about it, Emmon. Forgive me. It's you must forgive my clumsiness, Oric, Emmon said after a little silence of surprise. And his voice was so warm, with the courtesy and softness of the lowlands in it, like my mother's voice, that my eyes prickled with tears under the seal that shut them. He or Guy built up our end of the fire. The warmth of it came around my legs again, very welcome. We were sitting in the big hearth of the stone house of Caspermont, in the south corner, where seats are built deep into the stones of the chimney side. It was a cold evening of late January. The wind up in the chimney hooted like great owls. The spinning women were gathered over at the other side of the hearth, where the light was better. They talked a little or droned their long, soft, dull spinning songs, and we three in our corner went on talking. Well, what about the others, then? Emmon asked, irrepressible. You can tell about them, maybe. The other Branters, all over these mountains here in their stone towers, like this one? On their domains? What powers do they have? What are their gifts? What are they feared for? There was always that little challenge of half-disbelief which I could not resist meeting. The women of the lineage of Cordamont have the power of blinding, I said, or making deaf, or taking speech away. Well, that's ugly, he said, sounding impressed for the moment. Some of the Cordamont men have the same gift, Guy said. Your father, Guy, the Branter of Rodmont, has he a gift, or is it all your mother's? The Rods have the gift of the knife, she said. And that would be? To send a spell knife into a man's heart, or cut his throat with it, or kill him, or maim him with it, how they please, if he's within sight. By all the names of all the sons of Chorm, that's a nice trick. A pretty gift. I'm glad you take after your mother. So am I, Guy said. He kept coaxing, and I couldn't resist the sense of power it gave me to tell him of the powers of my people. So I told him of the Ulm lineage, who can set a fire burning at any place they can see and point to, and the Callums, who can move heavy things by word and gesture, even buildings, even hills, and the Morga lineage, who have the inner sight, so that they see what you're thinking. Though Guy said what they saw was any illness or weakness that might be in you, we agreed that in either case the Morgars could be uncomfortable neighbors, though not dangerous ones, which is why they kept out of the way on poor domains far over in the northern glens, and no one knows much about them except they breed good horses. Then I told him what I had heard all my life about the lineages of the great domains, Helvermont, Tibramont, Boramont, the warlords of the Carantages, up on the mountains to the northeast. The gift of the